I think the first thing I want to say to families of sex offenders is, let's not panic and start hating the offender. A general guideline would be, hey, continue to be a family. You know, if you feel safe as the mother and father of an adult offender, there's no reason to not continue being a mother and a father. If your adult brother or sister has committed a sex crime, there's no reason to not continue being a true brother or sister to that offender. What so often occurs, I think, is families get kind of confused and caught up in the whole process of awarding stigma, and they feel that they too must punish the offender because only punishment is going to keep him from ever doing this again. And also they're afraid, I think, if I could say this, I think people get sincerely frightened with the taint of being tarred with the same brush of stigma. So it's not because they're such highly moral or highly principled people. It's because they're fearful quite often of, well, what are my neighbors going to think of me? What will my church think of me? What will this whole community think of me if I continue to stand by my brother, my son, my father? Instead, what I'd like to see is families continue to focus on doing what families have always done best, to support each other through difficult times. And in that support, it isn't just the offender who needs support. Families need to remember that they too need support. The individual family member has a right to his feelings. If he's angry with the offender, he should go ahead and feel free to feel his anger, to not repress that, and to be able to process that even with the offender as time goes by. The offender doesn't need to be protected from the truth. And if anger is part of the truth, if hurt is part of the truth, and if fear is part of the truth, the offender needs to hear all of that. So often, though, really, in these crimes, you know, most often victims are victimized by friends and family members. And that means, to some degree, the family failed. The family failed to see the threat coming, or the family was part of that overall system that produced the offender in the first place. And for a lot of families, the temptation is going to be to want to point the finger at the offender, even if it's only in their own mind. Even if it's only in their own thinking, they're going to want to reduce him to somewhat less than they themselves are. And I think the great gift for me in working with sex offenders over the last decade has been to realize that we are all far more alike than we are different. And given the right circumstances, we could all offend sexually. And it's only by the grace of God that I'm not walking in his shoes right now. So having a little mercy close at hand is going to be very appropriate because we ourselves may need it further down the road.